Sandra all the time is here with the cold hard truth. She's the ears and the eyes for me and you. Every day, everyone want to hear from Sandra. And every time on the air, she's getting better. Tell your sister, tell your brother, tell your mama, call Sandra in the morning and in the evening. They always calling Sandra. And when they start fighting, they calling Sandra. And
That's right, folks. Everyone is telling their mama about the cold hard truth. Welcome to another episode with more truth-telling, more problem-solving, and of course, more tea spilling than ever before. Sit back, students, grab your tea and turn up the volume because class is now in session. Call in at 936-2626 because your voice matters. Share your opinion on issues that matter the most to you.
Good morning. These are your morning headlines for Cayman, Marl Road on Monday, December 16th.
History was made in the business of swimming this weekend, as our own rising star continued to soar on the global stage. Cayman Islands' Jordan Crooks shattered not one, but two world records in the 50-meter freestyle at the Short Course World Championships in Budapest. The 22-year-old phenom first broke the record Saturday morning, clocking in at 20:08 seconds. But he wasn't done there. Just hours later, Crooks became the first human to ever swim the distance in under 20 seconds, posting a remarkable time of 19:90. The previous record of 2016 was held by American swimming superstar Caleb Dressel. Crooks capped off his historic weekend by claiming gold in Sunday's final. For the athletic world, this represents a seismic shift in swimming's star power. Coming from the Cayman Islands, this young man has placed the country on the world stage yet again. He is perfectly positioned to attract both regional and international sponsorships as the sport's newest record-holding champion. The Cayman Islands rallied around Crooks with the Ministry of Sports, hosting a viewing party for the final swim event Sunday morning. Just a month ago, the Cayman Islands government announced his appointment as the nation's first ever cabinet-appointed sports ambassador.
We turn now to a developing story, Georgetown. Police have made multiple arrests in connection with the death of a 2-year-old child on Cayman Brac. Among those arrested is 26-year-old Chantel McLean, a support staff member at Cayman Prep and High School. McLean, who worked as a reading support assistant with young children, was taken into custody on Wednesday during a Thursday press conference. Police confirmed that 2-year-old Elicity Azalea Powell died from strangulation or suffocation. McLean was reportedly among the last people to see the child alive. Cayman Prep and High School has responded to the arrest, with Director Deborah McLaughlin confirming that the staff member has been suspended pending review. 2 other individuals have also been arrested in connection with this ongoing investigation. CMR understands all 3 parties were granted bail on Friday afternoon.
In court news, a grand court hearing was held today for Palmarugan Palraj, a bartender at the Foundry Bar in Grand Harbor, who faces allegations of rape. The charges stem from an incident reported on December 9th near Queens Court Plaza. The case involves allegations made by a 24-year-old woman who was celebrating her birthday with a visiting friend. Palraj appeared via video link for Friday's hearing, where no plea was entered. His attorney indicated that legal aid arrangements are still pending. A bail application is scheduled for December 17th. The police investigation remains ongoing.
A fire broke out at the Baden Town Civic Center on Saturday evening. forcing the evacuation of 16 migrants temporarily housed at the facility, authorities reported. The incident, which occurred at approximately 8:30 p.m. on December 14th, prompted an immediate response from the Cayman Islands Fire Service. The Cayman Islands Customs and Border Control Service, CBC, confirmed that no injuries were reported in the incident. Officials were working to secure alternative accommodations for the displaced migrants who were residing at the center. The cause of the fire remains unknown as authorities conduct their investigation. The Bodden Town Civic Center serves as a temporary housing facility for migrants under CBC supervision. This incident marks a significant disruption to the facility's operations, though the full extent of the damage has not yet been disclosed.
Police have arrested a 30-year-old West Bay resident in connection with a high-value robbery that occurred at a construction site on Eastern Avenue last month. The arrest was made early Friday morning at approximately 7:15 a.m. Last month, armed men reportedly made off with more than $300,000 that was to be used to pay construction workers. The suspect is being held on suspicion of conspiracy to commit robbery and additional related charges. The incident, which took place on November 18th, remains under active investigation by local authorities. Detectives are continuing their appeal for public assistance in the case. The Major Incident Room is handling the investigation and can be reached at 244-2930. Members of the public with information about the robbery can also submit anonymous tips through several channels, including the RCIP's confidential tip line and the Cayman Crime Stoppers platform. Anonymous tips can be provided directly to the RCIPs via their confidential tip line at 949-777 or via their website.
Now in police news from Northside, where police have made an arrest following the discovery of weapons and drugs. According to the RCIP's officers from the Firearm Response Unit, conducted an early morning operation at Dolphin Plaza on Eastern Avenue Friday, around 3:30 a.m. Officers detained a 30-year-old man after observing suspicious behavior. A subsequent search of the area led to the discovery of a loaded handgun and what police describe as a quantity of suspected cocaine. The Northside resident remains in custody, facing charges related to possession of an unlicensed firearm and drug offenses.
A significant vote in Parliament today, as lawmakers rejected a proposed property tax that would have targeted overseas property owners. The private member's motion, brought forward by Bodden Town West MP Chris Saunders, sought to establish a healthcare protection fund through a 2% annual tax on properties owned by non-Caymanians. Premier Juliana O'Connor Connolly led the opposition to the measure, warning it could drive away high net worth individuals and foreign investors to other jurisdictions, potentially impacting both property values and stamp duty revenue. The Premier expressed concerns that the proposal could create divisions, noting it unfairly targeted non-Caymanians, who she said aren't typically the source of medical cost issues. Georgetown East MP Roy McTaggart, who chairs the Public Accounts Committee, added that while healthcare funding needs attention, the proposed property tax would be, quote, too complex to be workable. The motion was ultimately defeated on the floor.
An important update for West Bay residents regarding recycling services. The Department of Environmental Health has announced the return of its West Bay Recycling Depot to its original location at Foster's Republics. The depot, which accepts Type 1 and 2 plastics, mixed paper, cardboard, and metal and aluminum cans, is now operating at the back of the supermarket. Meanwhile, residents should note that the Ed Bush Stadium Recycling Depot will permanently close on Sunday, December 22nd. Officials warn that any dumping at this location after the closure will be considered illegal, carrying penalties of up to 6 months in prison and a minimum fine of $500. DEH Director Richard Sims says the department welcomes this return to the Foster's location, as it continues its mission to reduce landfill waste. Residents can still access 8 other recycling locations across the islands, including sites at Kirk Supermarket, various Foster's locations, and community centers in Northside and East End.
The Cayman Islands has achieved a historic milestone, securing its first ever gold medal at the Commonwealth Karate Federation 2024 Club Championships held in Durban, South Africa. Senior kata athlete Nick Young Shodan emerged victorious in the Masters veteran division, bringing pride to the nation with his exemplary performance. The tournament, which featured 505 athletes from 18 countries, presented stiff competition. Young initially competed in the male kata division, securing a win against Zimbabwe but falling to South Africa in the second round. However, he rebounded in the Masters division, defeating South Africa, India, and Kenya in successive rounds to clinch gold.
And that's Cayman News for this morning. These news headlines and more can be found on our website and social media channels. And now, here's Sunny Hill with another episode of The Cold Hard Truth.
All right. Good morning, everyone. How are you guys doing? Happy Monday. Everybody should be nice and fresh and ready to hit the ground running for one of the final full weeks before Christmas. Yes, are you guys ready? All right. Let me check in. Make sure everybody's doing good, honey chia. Let's see who we have. The usual suspects are here. Everybody's remembering their manners. Well, almost everybody. All right, let's see. We've got, that's an alarm going off, telling me I got something to do. All right, let me see now. We've got we've got Shaka Zulu in the house. Fresh Joe, yes, wishing everybody a good morning. I'm squinting because I haven't put on my glasses yet. I'm trying to clean the lenses. Hold on. I'm going to get there, honey chia. Let me just wipe these off. It's amazing when you wear glasses how much stuff they get on them. Oh, my goodness. I've always said to myself, does that mean when you're not wearing glasses that all of that's actually going in your eyes? Well, sort of. Your eyelids filter a lot of it. But still, yeah. What a mess. All right, let me see now. Miss Jean, good morning to you. There was a time when I didn't need glasses to read, but once you hit 50, you know what happens. It starts to fall apart. We're in that stage now where we're wearing progressive lenses, reading and bifocal and different lens in the same lens. And you know what? It hasn't been that bad. They told me, some people really struggle with the adjustment. And mine has been just fine. I really haven't had any issues. The first week or two, stepping down, where you have to look down, like going downstairs and stuff, that was a little bit tricky. So, but it didn't, oh gosh, these glasses are a mess. Yes, sir. Didn't take too long to get that sorted out. Let's see, I got some lens cleaner here. Yeah. All right, Miss Jean, yes, I see you. Stephanie Brooks is in the house. So I heard there was a really bad accident this morning in Red Bay, but I haven't gotten any pictures yet. Where are all the pictures? I don't know. All the pictures, hold on, let me grab my lens cleaner and cloth. All the pictures, nothing has come in. So somebody send me a picture. Apparently, I've been told that a car flipped over. Oh my goodness, what on earth? All right, Instagram folks, let me just restart your feed. I see that just went down, honey chill. So, I don't know what to say to encourage you guys to drive better, but I hope one day you'll figure it out because our roads are, what is it, almost 100 accidents a week? That's absolutely insane. Oh my goodness. This weekend I was at Cost You Less. Somebody backed out, didn't pay attention to where they were going, backed into a lady. And then she's like, well, I don't see any damage. Just keep moving. She doesn't want to move. And I said, well, that's her prerogative as the person who got hit. If she wants to wait for the police to come, because some of y'all be like, I'll take responsibility for it. And then you end up not taking responsibility and it's a whole some people would rather just wait for the police to come and give a full police report that they can use for insurance purposes. Remember, after you call your insurance, honey child, no, before you call the insurance, I should say, after you call the police, call Recover to make sure you get your full payout when anytime there's an accident that isn't your fault. Because Recover will make sure everything, all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. Yes, honey child. Nice lenses cleaned. Now I can see everybody perfectly. Let me see. Has somebody just sent me the pictures? Someone's sending me a video. Is this of the accident? Let me see. So just be cautious because I don't know where y'all driving to. Oh, that was really early this morning. It was so dark out. Wow. Oh my goodness. Thank you for the video. So yeah, I don't know what, thank you for sending that video. I see you guys are paying attention in class this morning. I do not know, to be quite frank, what's going on with all the bad driving, but wowee. Yes, sir. There you have it. I'm telling you, some of y'all don't need to be in the roadway. Don't know where you got your driver's license from. Oh, I think I might have sprayed too much of this stuff. It's making me cough. Oh, I need my phone. Okay, hold on, folks. Give me one quick second. My apologies. Just realized I don't have the show phone on me. All right, beautiful folks. Thank you. Thank you for your indulgence this morning. All right. So lots happened over the weekend. Good morning, Miss Marva. Debbie says no sound. Are you sure, Miss Debbie? I think we should be good, honey child. Miss Lucille, good morning. Yes, Miss Marva, we're going to get to that. Hello, Damien Green. Good morning to you. Miss Darlene is here. Oh, I miss the other Miss Darlene so much. Bless her little heart. It was so nice to have her in the program. She always used to remind me, Sandy, I'm doing dialysis today and I'm here with the other patients. She really got them into listening to the show with her. And they seem to have really enjoyed learning all about the Cayman Islands, honey child. Yes. She used to say that they were tickled pink by some of the things that we would say on the air. So we really do miss her. Ay. What to do. Strong Wilt is good. Luis, good morning to you. Beautiful Miss Iva. Good morning. Miss Marva says, good morning, Lady Sandra. Jamaican Mama Marva loves you, precious lady Sandra. Heart emoji. Aw, thank you, Miss Marva. Debbie, Good to see you. Robert is here. Lucille Forbes in the UK joining us. And all the way at home, she's sending some love to us from over that side of the pond. Miss Alba says, Buenos dias, Sandy. ¿Cómo estás? Feliz semana. Wishing us a good week. Buenos dias. Buenos dias. Paul, joining us from the beautiful island of Bermuda. Olivia is here. Look at Miss Evelyn. So good to see you. Dean. Hey, Dean Spencer. How you doing, honey child? Good morning to you, Miss Sonia. Are you here on island, Miss Sonia? I know you've been traveling all over. Inspiring drinking ginger tea with fever grass. Huh. How does that taste? Ginger tea with fever grass. Because, fever grass has its own unique flavor. Yes, Damien. Damien caught that. I know. I corrected it, but then it still didn't sound right. One of the things, Damien, with using AI voices to do the news is I must admit that some words just isn't pronounced right, but then sometimes it's not pronouncing it right because of a misspelling. So initially, I forgot the D, and that's why it sounded like that. But then I put it in, it still sounded the same. So I need to review that one and see. Could have been my mistake, though. But yes, if you misspell something, I've also realized that phonetically, you have to, like if you do, say, for example, you do RCIPS, it'll say RCEPS. And then, like it says it kind of weird. So I have to put in the full stops between RCIPS ... Anyway, and then some things I have to spell phonetically. Cayman, it's always a little bit off, but if I do K-man, then it does a hard K, Cayman. Yeah, what can I tell you? But I'm loving my AI journey, by the way. I've been immersing myself in it, and man, it's a whole new world. It's awesome. It's pretty cool. I'm going to show you guys some of my other gadgets that I have that have been making my life a lot easier with all these AI tools. All right, so we've got wet roads. Is it still raining out there? Big shout out to the NRA. They're pushing to complete our road for us in our little neighborhood. So we got repaving and we got some speed bumps reinforced. And now we just need the markings, though, because everybody's coming down here messaging me. I almost tore up my car. When did you get new speed bumps? So I'm like, y'all need to slow down. You need to slow down. You might have seen them. But yes, hopefully they'll put the markings on there because I don't want y'all tearing out your bumper and then trying to blame me. Let me see here now. All right. Anthony said they're bringing all the South American, Asian, Indian, and Jamaican bad driving here. No understanding or the road code in these countries. Just look who's driving, and they're bringing their bad habits here. Yes, in conjunction with all the bad Caymanian drivers, it's a hot mess. I'm going to agree with you because there are people who've never driven before in their lives. And then they come to Cayman and they get a license and they don't have the experience. So they're like relatively new drivers. And so they do a lot of hot mess. Yeah. I mean, I've seen people struggling to park a Honda Fit in a regular parking spot. And I look at them and go, okay. And that's just when you're not used to maneuvering because don't they have power steering? I mean, it's not like back in the day when we had manual steering, it was hard then. You had to I remember those days learning on my aunt's car. She had a big, I think it was like a Chrysler or something, big sedan. And boy, that was hard to park and maneuver. And yeah, boy, she'd be like, you're running over the sidewalk. And I'm like, well, I'll soon get it. But then I was like 16 years old learning how to drive. Y'all supposed to do better. DJ Ryan in the house. What's up, DJ Ryan? It's good to see you. We're going to talk a little bit about some parties this weekend, DJ Ryan. You might be interested. Shaka Zulu, good morning, good morning, good morning. Yes, we're going to be talking about Aquaman Jordan Crooks here in just a second. Love that he did such an amazing job this weekend. In fact, let me pull out Mark. Big shout out to Mark Solomon. Mark is always doing these videos, and he did one in honor of Jordan this weekend. And boy, Jordan is amazing. This young man is hitting all kind of records. Yeah, Shaka, every tool is different. So the one that I have, I'm still trying to learn how to phonetically train some of it. Yes, you're absolutely right. There are a lot of times things that you can do. Yes. Jean, try refreshing, but you should have audio. Everybody should be good with audio this morning. All right, so Untapped today. Let's talk about Jordan. We're going to talk about, I thought that we had the elections people joining us, but let me just check my emails real quick and see what's going on there. Let me see. Anything new on the email? No. Okay. Maybe they'll jump on. We'll keep an eye out. Otherwise, we'll see when they're coming on. Yeah. Des Roy says, so no Caymanians don't meet in accidents. Of course they do. They do. But I think this person makes a fair point as well, in the sense that, and I mean, you can probably do the math. Now, here's the thing, Desroy, our police don't categorize anything by nationality. I guess rightfully so. That could be seen as somewhat prejudicial for sure. But if you were to, proportionally look at some of the accidents that we have, I would say a good portion of the Filipino drivers struggle with, basic road rules. And I think it's just that they just don't have the experience on the roadway. So, experience matters. Did you guys see the editorial this weekend? I might play it during the show today. Character matters. Well, experience matters too. Listen, I learned to drive in the States, and, I have had, I think in my lifetime, I've had 2 accidents, and none of them were my fault. One, somebody was coming across right there by the gas station, Jake Scott gas station. They came all the way across and hit me. And I'm like, how do you come across 3 lanes of traffic when you don't even have the right of way? Like, what on earth? But bad drivers. So, and let's be honest, Desroy, Jamaica is not known for having the best drivers in the world. I mean, their situation is a little bit different in the sense that they just ignore the road rules. Not that they don't necessarily know how to drive, but they're bad drivers for different reasons. They're bad drivers because they don't care about the rules. They speed, they do all sorts of crazy stuff. I mean, I sit in traffic court sometimes, and what I hear people doing, one Jamaican guy, he didn't even know that the police were chasing him, because not only was he speeding, but he was on a phone call, enraged in this phone call with some woman, fighting over whatever, some beef. And then when he finally got pulled over, he tried to tell the magistrate that the officer who ticketed him liked his girlfriend or some foolishness. The magistrate was like, what? Dude, you were clocking like over 100. Like, what are you talking about? On the Esterly Tibbetts Highway. So I'll be honest with you, a lot of Jamaican drivers, they just do whatever they want. And you've seen it in Jamaica yourself. A lot of roads don't even have the markings like, okay, this is your lane. They just make up their own lanes. I'm like, well, what kind of driving is this? I don't know if I could drive in Jamaica. I got to tell you the truth, boy. I'd be like, what the hell? You have to be an aggressive driver there. Like, you have to really be, I've never seen people use their horn so much as they do in Jamaica when they're driving in Kingston. It's like, everything's horn. Like, get out of the way. And I'm like, oh my God. Woo. It's kind of crazy. Mind you, Americans are kind of aggressive too when they're on the roadway. All right. So Desroy says, I drive a tour bus on the road every day. Trust me, at times I wonder how some persons get a license. Well, we're all wondering that, to be honest.
Now, one guy was telling me, a Jamaican guy called me about 2 months ago, and he said, Miss Sandy, I know what part of the problem is. And I said, you do? And he said, yeah. This Filipino lady went in, couldn't drive. Like, she could pass the written test, but then he saw her trying to drive, and he's like, that woman should have never gotten a license, and yet they passed her. And I said, well, there you go. That's part of the reason right there. So yeah, it's a combination of things. Inexperienced drivers, distracted drivers. I think the Caymanians are probably, the young ones are inexperienced as well. So they're speeding and crashing and killing each other. And then a lot of people are just simply distracted, like they're next level distracted. And so it makes for a horrendous time on the roadway and not paying attention. All right, so let's look at let's talk about Jordan. Talk about something positive to kick off the show this morning. Jordan Crooks, an amazing young man, and Anthony says, "I swear Jamaica must be the biggest consumer of brake pads. Have you ever driven with a Jamaican? I don't know what it is, but why press the brakes so much? It's like a carnival ride." I don't know. Palmer says that Evelyn says you need to drive in London and then you can talk about bad driving. Then you'll say something else. Oh my Lord. London's that bad? No, sir. Deanna says most of them don't even want to drive, but our transportation system is so bad. Mm-hmm. Carla, good morning. Hey, haven't seen you in a minute. She says, just look at the cause list for traffic court and judicial at KY. Most of those names are not Caymanians. I mean, they break all kind of rules, Carla. I mean, literally some days I just sit there and repeat offenders. Like the magistrate's like, you're back here again? You already lost your license. What are you doing on the roadway? Strong Will says Jamaicans can drive, but they don't follow the rules. I totally agree with you, Sandy. Well, I don't know what's worse. I don't know. Because ignoring the rules and speeding and drinking and driving on the phone, sometimes that's worse than not knowing how to drive. Because if you don't know how to drive and you kind of take your time, you might be able to maneuver around. But when you add bad habits to that, that's a whole other tricky situation. Mm-hmm. Deanna says Panama isn't easy either. I'm suspecting all kind of little cities have their issues, but Cayman is too small. Like we literally have 2 roads when you think about it. How do we have 100 accidents a week almost? It's ridiculous. My goodness. All right. Bad drivers all over the world, I guess. So big shout out to Jordan. My boy performed this weekend, and what a performance it was. First, he broke a record. Came in, broke an American's record in the 50 meter, was it the butterfly? Then, within hours of breaking that record, he broke another record. First man to swim under 20 seconds, 19.9. Double record breaker on Saturday. This is just phenomenal when you think about it. So, what they say, lightning struck twice in Budapest, shattered his own record hours after the first one in the 50 meter freestyle. Made history, groundbreaking time of 19.9 at the short course world championships. And this is the first time that any swimmer has broken the 20-second barrier in the event. Let me tell you something, this 22-year-old is going places. Man, we are looking forward to seeing him in the Olympics in 4 years, imagine. Shattered his own world record of 20.08, just set hours earlier in the day in the preliminary heats. And then he went on yesterday to win the gold medal. This young man is just, this shows you a discipline and, dedication to your craft, what you can do. So big shout out to Mark. Mark put together this little video for him, which is so cute.
Why am I so different from them? Earth's sun is younger and brighter than Krypton's was. Your cells are drunk in its radiation, strengthening your muscles, your skin, your senses. Earth's gravity is weaker, yet its atmosphere is more nourishing. You've grown stronger here than I ever could have imagined. The only way to know how strong is to keep testing your limits.
So he set that world record and then went on to break it in the same day. Absolutely phenomenal. We are so proud of him. I told you guys last month, November the 15th, just a month ago, that he was, selected as the only cabinet appointed sports. Oh gosh, what's his title again? Sports ambassador. Well deserved. Jordan, we can't encourage you enough to just continue on your journey and, ensure that you just stay focused. I mean, you're doing all the right things. I know that this takes a lot of training and a lot of discipline, and we are behind you 1,000%. You've really done us incredibly proud, and we couldn't be happier for you and your family. And of course, his sister Jillian also swims and also does really well. But this young man is just really, really amazing. So just continue, gosh, we don't need to tell you how to win. You know how to do it. We just want to give you words of encouragement to let you know how incredibly proud we are of you. And you made us all proud this weekend. I just wish more of us could have seen the race live yesterday. We were scouring the TV channels, trying to find it and where this Budapest race was. And I could never find it in the end. And so I know that the government had put together a watch party at the last minute, but as usual, that wasn't very well advertised. So very few people even knew that that was happening. But it was phenomenal. Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Happy Monday.
I just wanted to give a huge shout out to Jordan Crook's parents.
Yes.
And the many sacrifices that they have made to get both their kids where they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not trying to put a negative spin on this, but I think it's a crying shame that the Cayman Islands government loves to take credit once they've arrived.
Mm.
Once they've arrived and gotten gold and doing well, Cayman Islands government is all over it.
Well, how do you
That's
think?
All I'm gonna because all right, if you look at many posts from, say, for example, his mom. Look at who she's thanking. Look at who has helped them.
Oh, I haven't seen.
She recently was thanking. I'm not saying the Cayman Islands government hasn't done anything because I don't know what they've done to support him. But if you just look, like she recently was thanking the Bahamas swim team for allowing their physiotherapist to help Jordan during this meet. Yeah. What Cayman Islands government isn't providing physiotherapists or anything like that, or. Anyways,
yeah, I mean, I'm a little
trying
bit
to put a negative spin on it. I'm just saying, like,
and I have to admit that I don't know. Parents. Yeah, I don't think. Thank you, caller, for highlighting that. I must say that I don't know enough about it because I do know he swims for is it a Texas university?
Tennessee. I think it's Tennessee.
Tennessee. Okay. I saw the T and I couldn't remember if that was Texas A&M or who, but okay, so that's Tennessee.
But when he goes to these world meets, he represents the Cayman Islands.
He represents Cayman, yeah.
He wears our flags. He represents the Cayman Islands. It says Cayman Islands in his lane.
Yeah. But he also wears the Texas hat. So I was kind of wondering if he was more representing the school at that level. Like, I'm not sure. I'll be honest with you. I don't know how it works.
Whenever he goes to world events, he represents the Cayman Islands.
Cayman. Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, I saw them
like I said, I don't
acknowledging it, obviously,
the government.
Yeah,
I don't know what support the government does give them, but it would be interesting to know because I feel like it's not a lot.
All right, let's see what we can find out. Ministry of Youth, Sports, and Heritage. I think they've changed the name again, but that is Isaac Rankin's ministry. So let's see what more we can find out. Like I said, I do know that they had a watch party. It would
be great to know.
Yeah. All right. I will make some inquiries for sure. I appreciate the call. Yeah, I gotta be honest with you. This is an area that I don't. Let me find out. So I guess, yeah, this is an international meet, but I kind of thought that maybe, like, I don't know. I guess, does he only swim for his university, like in the US? Let me find out. They have made him an ambassador, which means now that he does get a little salary as well. So there's another accident this morning. Oh my Lord. Off of Marina Drive, past Omega Drive. This one's got the ambulance and fire trucks out there. Oh my. Oh. All right, folks. I mean, be careful, not just on the main roads. But yeah, I'll find out because caller, you know, yeah, I mean, if it is an international meet and their government doesn't provide any support and he's having to use another country's massage therapists and stuff, that kind of does look bad. I'll be honest with you. I don't know what's his mom's name. I don't really know her, so I can't say that I've seen these posts that you mentioned. But what a mess. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you know, these athletes do require support and physiotherapy. Listen, he's got to be nice and limber and warmed up and supple and all that good stuff to be able to give his best possible performance. And so it would be very, very important to provide those things for him when he's at an international meet. And despite that, look at how amazing he's done. So congratulations again, Jordan. We'll inquire. Shaka says expanding population, extremely limited roadway infrastructure equals consistent disasters in the making. This coupled with poor driving habits makes her transportation disaster salad. Miss Lucille says, God bless him. Some were congratulating. Some were congratulating. Keep the good work up. Love it. So proud of Jordan, says Abby. Cassius says, Jamaicans drive the worst. Don't care who gets upset. Most inconsiderate people on the road lack anything called consideration. Doesn't want to wait in line and make their own rules. And I'm a Jamaican. I'm from Jamaica. What a mess. Landon says the Panamanians will give you a run for your money. Landing flight says Panama is the worst I've ever seen. And all of the countries I've been. Wow. I'm trying to remember. It's been a minute. I need to go to Panama. I haven't been to Panama in a minute. It's been years now. Like 10 years ago, Marlon and I went to Panama. So I don't recall how bad the driving was, but half of the trip was out in the rainforest area away from the city. So I wouldn't have really seen anything there. Absolutely beautiful. It was when I was in Panama, I think it was Panama or Honduras. I think it was Panama. When we stayed at the resort in the rainforest area out in the country. The lady said to me, they had like a butterfly farm and we were doing all sorts of tours and stuff. She spoke English, but then she, would explain stuff in Spanish as well. And so I started talking to her a little bit. She said, your Spanish is actually pretty good. She said, if you came here for 6 months, if you lived, I think it was Panama. I can't remember because we did 2 trips very close together, Panama and Honduras. She said, if you came here for 6 months, you'd be fluent because you've got the good, kind of foundations of Spanish and the pronunciation's pretty good. You just need the practice. I said, yeah, one of these days I might go to Costa Rica because I hear Costa Rica is really cheap to retire and stuff. So maybe that's the retirement plan. There or Portugal. Then I have to learn Portuguese. Strong Will. Good morning, honey chow. Says, don't worry, Auntie Julie's going to give him a check when he gets back. Well, that doesn't help him at the time, obviously. I mean, he is an ambassador, so I know he'll get paid for that, which is good. But yeah, he needs the support as he's performing. I think that's the important thing, to make sure he can optimally perform. Omar, good morning. Omar says they don't support the people living here. I don't see them supporting our athletes. We need to be tourists to get support. Lord Jesus. Morning, Jim. Jim says Panamanians love using their vehicle horns instead of their hands and mouths. What a mess. Okay. So congratulations. Leroy says that the government needs to take care of our athletes, track and field, football, swimming. Well, I mean, listen, I don't think anyone has achieved this level of, just amazing sports accomplishments like Jordan. So, Sandy says, Miss Iva, you don't want to drive. They make all 6 lanes over there. My heart was in my mouth for the 14 days I was there. Thank God I'm coming home today. Where is this, in Panama? Lord have mercy, really? Wow. Good morning, Cayman kind. All right, let's move on. Someone sent me the best language learning apps and why most don't work. Oh. There's a new AI one, funny enough, that his mom's name is Miss Faith Crooks. Morning, Mama Faith. Congrats to you and your entire family for the amazing job that you've done with your son and supporting him. And I heard that the parents are very, very disciplined, and that's wonderful. They have a new AI tool. I saw it advertised, I think it was Facebook, that helps you get practice with languages. It's kind of interesting. So one of the biggest issues why people can't learn is if you're not living in that country, you simply don't get the practice. And sometimes even when you live in the country, you're like afraid to, like a lot of people understand it, but you're afraid to speak it. So I've been watching this whole video series on YouTube where it's by, I think CNBC does it. But it's about people living abroad, Americans living in other countries. And it's very, very interesting to see things like the cost of living and, just all these elements of living abroad. And so one of the amazing things is they do a comparative, like some people make less money than they did in the US, but it's about quality of life. So they're like, listen, I'm happier. The air is fresher. It's less stress. Like all of these amazing things. And that's why they choose to live abroad. And one lady, she lives in Iceland. She used to be married to an Icelander, and then she divorced him, but she was saying the language. She understands a good deal of it, but she's oftentimes afraid of speaking it because she's afraid of making mistakes, which I think a lot of times that happens with people when they're learning foreign languages. But it's an interesting series. You guys should go watch it. I think they do it as a regular thing. So I watched Iceland. I was watching Costa Rica last night, and Iceland, obviously during the winters, is brutal. It's CNBC. It's called Make It. I watched Greece. This family that's living in Greece, one of the Greek islands, Syros, and they have people living all over. So it's very, very interesting to see. Now, a lot of these places are actually more expensive. I'm going to be honest with you. Iceland wasn't really any cheaper than Cayman necessarily. And I think Greece might have been a little bit, rent was a little bit less expensive. But the places in Iceland were small, and a 1-bedroom, 1 bath was $2,000 US. I'm and it looked pretty small. It wasn't a big 1-bedroom. Costa Rica was actually pretty inexpensive. But I think, again, it just depends on where you live in Costa Rica. So they're in Nicoya? Nicoya. And I don't even know what part of Costa Rica that is. But it's very, very interesting. And of course, they're like, oh, yeah, we got to get used to the bugs and the snakes and everything else living with us. I was like, ooh, honey, chill. All right. Thank you. And congratulations again to Miss Faith. So she's Peter Young's sister. Father is Jimmy Crooks. They own Phoenix Lab. Phoenix Lab. Is that the gym? What's Phoenix Lab? Yes, I knew that last part, I think. I knew they were family. So Peter Young, yes, the accountant Peter, Mr. Peter. All right. Good stuff. His mom's name is Mary. Who the heck is Mary? No, it's Faith. Okie dokie. Let me see here. Jordan's parents are Faith and Jimmy Crooks. Thanks for that. So yes, good morning to the parents as well, Miss Faith and Jimmy. I think that they do, again, a really good job supporting their kids, because I've heard of some amazing things that they do. So yeah, she posted and she said, I'm so thankful for the support. This is 1 hour ago. And love shared with her family. We give God all the glory. In addition to coaching, good nutrition, mental fitness, physical fitness, hydration, proper sleep, and positive support, physiotherapy plays a very important role in an athlete's success. I want to specifically thank Mr. Cordero Bonami, and he is the owner and founder at Active Body Rehab and consultant at Family Medicine Center, and that is he studied physiotherapy at UE, West Indies, Mona, for the Bahamas swim team, assisting Jordan and Jillian at the 2024 World Short Course Swimming Championships. He's knowledgeable, approachable, and loves sports, and he had a plan. Mr. Bonami's contribution was vital to Jordan and Jillian's success at the meet, and our family will be forever grateful to Mr. Cordero and the Bahamas Aquatics Federation for sharing with us. May the blessings of the Lord be over and around you always. And she posted his picture. Oh, he looks like a young man too. So my question is this. The Bahamas has had their, at least a representative from the Aquatics Federation there. Did Cayman have someone from our swimming, what's our swimming organization called? I'm assuming that they were there, but I don't know. What's our swimming association called here? Wow. Let's hope. Huh. Okay. Oh, yeah. I love his tattoo. He got a tattoo of the Olympic rings. But some real inspiration for, the entire world, really. And definitely the region. Everybody's very, very proud of him. So well done. That was in Budapest for this meet. All right. I see everybody else. Aquatic Sports Association of Trinidad and Tobago. So who's our, again, I don't know who our swim team is, but she made another post on December the 12th, says Team Bahamas. Thank you for sharing with us. We'll forever remember your kindness to our family. So the Bahamas seems like they were very, very instrumental there in Budapest in helping Jordan. So Well done, Jordan. All right. Okay. Well, I hope that somebody from our swimming organization would have been there. And I see some other swimmers there as well. Looks like they're from Cayman. Looks like they're wearing medals. Oh, here it is. It's a CBAC. Cayman. What does the B stand for? Cayman. Oh, this is a Cayman Bay Aquatic Club. So they were there. Oh, this was another event in Quebec. This was in Budapest. Oh yeah, that was another event. Sorry. Okay. Cayman Bay Aquatic Club. Okay. Looks like they went off to looks like they were headed to Canada. All right. Okay, so who's the local club? What's the local club called? Does anybody know? So the Crooks children are part of the CBAC. Okay, so they're part of the Cayman Bay Aquatics Club, right? Is there like another one? Somebody says CBAC is a team, and CIASCA is the Cayman Islands Swimming Association. Okay, so what was the Cayman Islands Swimming Association in Budapest? Did they have anyone there? All right. Faith owns her own physiotherapy business, or did. Not sure if she still owns it. So she may have connections with other people in the industry, says this person. Okay. All right. The things you learn every day. All right. Well, we'll see. We'll find out if the Aquatics Association was there. All right, YouTuber, thank you. Talking more about bad drivers. Miss Iva. Medical Lab. That's the name of her business? The Hill in BT by the guardhouse. What is the opposite side of the road? Okay, talking about people coming from the east and cutting through. All right. So listen, again, congrats to Jordan. Town Civic Center. Even Miss Stacy was saying this morning, Sandy, you goat mouth, touch them people. Do you guys remember one of my WhatsApp followers reminded me that it was 7 months ago that I made mention of the fact that I don't even know if this is a real situation with Goat Matter. This is just common sense, because to me, this was bound to happen. That I made mention of the fire hazard that presented itself in the Civic Center, which is housing some Cubans there in Baden Town. In fact, they sent me the screenshot from way back when I mentioned it, and they shared the video that I would have played as well. So it turns out that I might be the only person outside of, I guess, CBC, when they raid it, when police go there, who has actually gone to the Civic Center, like gone inside of the Civic Center. And I tried to share it with you guys. I mean, you remember I showed you a lot of footage from that. If you don't, it's on Facebook. I'll copy the link here again. It's both on Facebook and YouTube. But it's a really sad situation. And It is a fire hazard, and it continues to be a fire hazard. That place is a death trap as far as I'm concerned. And I implored the government, the governor, any and everybody to please do something about this situation. Well, I don't know what the long-term plan is. I guess they're going to wait till somebody gets killed before they go, oh yeah, it's important now. I don't think that we should do that. I mean, all human life has value, or should have value. And so it's sad to see that nothing significant has been done. Although I've been told that what they're trying to do is just to send them all home, which is fine. I don't have any problems with that. But they know that realistically, that's going to take some significant time. That's not going to happen overnight. And in the meantime, what's going on? We're going to allow the hazard to continue. So supposedly there's only 16 of them left there. Let me tell you, this is what it comes down to, quite frankly. The authorities need to go in there and take that place apart. You know, these poor people have done the best that they can do with what they have, except what they have is like a favela, you know, in Brazil, where the poor people live, like they're just shanty towns. They're like building on top of each other. And that's what this looked like on the inside. I don't know. I'm trying to find the video. I don't know if you guys remember, but I've never in my life seen anything like it. I was actually very shocked and taken aback by what I saw. Let me see if I can find the video to remind y'all. It was horrific. And no one should be living in that type of a situation. Now, I get that they're the ones who have, oh, here it is, May the 7th. So I get that they're the ones who have, I'm going to share this with you guys. I know y'all have forgotten all about this already. We have a real ability to forget things quite easily, I must say. A little bit too much so. But the conditions here in this video are just absolutely atrocious. This guy here, he had multiple mattresses stacked up because he had something happen to his foot. He broke his foot or had surgery or something. So he wasn't able to like really lie down. I mean, I'm not surprised. They've jerry-rigged a lot of the electrical stuff. The load that is being carried at this place, like freezers, individual refrigerators, extension cords running all over the place. This was bound to happen. There's no other way to explain this to you guys. But, you know, maybe a little bit of goat milk, maybe just a little bit of common sense and foresight that this place, look at all the electrical wires hanging from the top. This is a death trap. They need to do something. I am shocked and surprised that these people have been allowed to live in this condition for as long as they have. To their credit, they're doing what they can. So they've got little rooms. If they put up curtains, doors, you know, they're trying to create privacy for themselves. And I can't say that I blame them for that when you're living in there. And I forget at the height how many people they've had in there, but it was quite a few. That amount of space is not designed for that many people. That violates every fire code that we have in the Cayman Islands. And yet everybody has ignored it. Everybody. The elected arm, the civil service, fire. Listen, if you went to, if you were a private citizen, Damon said it's worse that this is government property. Absolutely. Because if you were trying to rent this place out, as you know, you had a house like this and you're trying to rent this out, if they came in there, they would shut you down. They would say, you can't do this. This is a fire hazard. They would condemn your private dwelling place if they knew that you had it set up like this. And yet a government-owned facility is allowing this to happen. And everybody pretends like they don't know. Well, maybe they didn't know, because certainly, like I said, nobody ever bothered to visit. They had raided the place some days before, and that's why I went in there to see what was going on. Big shout out to Ingrid. Ingrid Jones was my translator for the day. And she assisted me going through and touring the place and speaking to some of the individuals there. Now, it's ironic that I was able to tour the whole place, and apparently nobody knew that I was touring it until after I came out. Then the security guard showed up and said, "Oh, you can't go in there." And I said, "Well, it's a little late for that, honey jail. I've already been in there." But, you know, beds everywhere, cots everywhere. If a fire broke out, you know, you've got stuff in the way. Anything that they can find. Look at this air conditioning unit. Somebody donates. Like, people just, they'll go and salvage pieces of discarded stuff. And then they have some guys there who have some skill set, and they will try to like fix it so that they can use it. Right now look at this. They have their little refrigerator. So this is one guy. This is like his little section here. And if you notice, he actually has a padlock on his fridge. And so they have to do that to secure their food. So they get their little $150 voucher per month for groceries from the government. And they have to, you know, see, there's his padlock. He has a padlock, his little groceries in there, so that it doesn't get stolen. And these are discarded things that they've found. So government didn't provide them. You see this little broken down exercise machine. They just pick up and find whatever they can to be able to, you know, make it through. And I got to tell you, I am very, very disappointed that this has been permitted to continue to be not just an eyesore, but a real human hazard and a health hazard for the Cuban nationals living there. And my thing is this: listen, I get it. I know how we feel about them at times and when they protest and whatever, but nobody should have to live in these conditions in our country. Look at that door. That door, the very knob is like broken off. And I know some people got upset with me when I did this. They're like, "Oh, you're trying to get sympathy for the Cubans." I said, listen to me. I wouldn't even have my dog living in these kind of conditions. It's like, come on now. There's humanity, and then there's, you know, this is horrendous. Good morning, caller.
Morning, Alexander. It's Johan. How's it going?
Morning, Johan. How are you?
I'm all right. Listen, it's really shocking and disappointing that individuals have to live in those sort of conditions. But if we're having a candid conversation, it doesn't matter what the government does. People that aren't accustomed to much are going to do whatever they need to do to make themselves comfortable, whether it be extra wires, extra extensions, extra whatever that will cause a fire hazard. In my opinion, and I wouldn't wish this on anybody, the best way to resolve this issue is to accelerate the processing and then the eventual departure of those individuals that the government needs to house, feed, clothe, and look after. And I say that not because I'm a mean-spirited person. Nobody should live under those conditions. But Sandra, we have hundreds, if not thousands, of Caymanians that don't get afforded government protection, that don't get a government voucher, that live in worse conditions. You have people that, for whatever circumstances, they're living in their cars, and because life has just basically knocked them out or given them a bad blow. And all I'm saying is, I get the compassion, and I get that it's not fair for anybody to live in a fire hazard, but let's send them back home so that their government can look after them and that we can look after our people. There are Caymanian kids that go to school every day without taking a shower. They don't have flush toilet. They don't have electricity. They live in pure squalor. We have
but
people
Johan,
that are in.
Can I pause you there?
Let me finish. Just let me finish. The concern that we have for Cubans, for the Cuban nationals, is the right thing. It's the humanitarian thing to do. But they chose to leave a place that was better than where they're living now. As Cuban nationals, or as any foreign national, you are allowed to go back home and you and your government sort it out. That is the quickest way for us to address that issue and any potential liability, because the reality is we can no longer accept the volumes of people that are applying for political asylum and then being forced into our society. Those same people then become wards of the state. They go on NAU and they get all the government benefits. All I'm saying is, if these people are known to be Cuban nationals and can go home, we need to help them go home so that our resources are being looked after and utilized to help our Caymanians who live in worse conditions than what we're seeing in the Bordentown Community Center, Civic Center, I think it's called.
All righty. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
I think the difference is, there's a couple differences here. Number one, this is a government property. They're not living in these conditions out of choice. They have no choice. So this is where government has housed them. And so what they're doing is they're just making the best of a situation that they've been placed in. So it, as a government, let's say that these were Caymanians in a government facility. Would you guys be okay with that? No, the government has to provide proper accommodations. Putting 30 and 40 people in a civic center with just cots to lie on, even if you say the average processing time for them is 6 months to a year, which, by the way, some of them have been there a lot longer than that, that can't be right. Legally, that can't be right. Now, I understand the sentiment of send them back home. I'm in favor of that, but I also understand the law. You have to send them back home within the confines of the law. We have a memorandum of understanding between ourselves and Cuba, and there is a process that must be followed. So I think that when we say just send them on, put them on a plane and send them back, it would be disingenuous of me to make you all believe that it is just that simple. Yes, that's how we feel. That's our sentiment. But the reality is there is a process, including identifying who these individuals are. The Cuban government is not going to take them back. How do you send somebody back when you have to have permission to land your plane in Cuba? I'm just asking, how do y'all figure this is going to happen? You can't just fly into Havana unannounced and be like, boom, here they are, take them. So the Cuban government and the UK, the Cayman Islands, have an understanding. They have a process of how this has to be done. Just last week, we took back another batch. I forget how many were in that batch. So I'm not even saying that the government isn't doing that part. They have been trying to, December the 10th, 5-6 days ago, 16 more were returned. You guys might have seen that article on CMR. So slowly they have been expediting, and part of the reason why is because we've been highlighting this atrocity. They've been expediting their departure. Some of them have left on their own. Remember this young man, Nadir? He did media and stuff in his country, and he was very well-spoken, very ambitious. You know, he said they did so much foolishness with his application. They denied him on grounds that were not even in his application. He reached out to me, just as an FYI, earlier, let me see, late October, to say that he's in Mexico. He left, he was one of those people that left here on his own accord. So he messaged me and said, good morning. I want to thank you for all of the help that you provided me and the other Cuban migrants. I'm in a different country now, but I've never forgotten the good and kind people that I met in Cayman. Sadly, the migration department didn't take my case with the seriousness and respect that it should have. I don't feel safe to stay in Cayman and be deported to Cuba, But I always am going to remember Cayman and the good people like you. Thank you so much, Nadir. So come to find out, he's actually in Mexico, and he said, I have to be very careful. It's a dangerous place here, but I'm very glad, to hear that he said, I said, is everything okay? He says, yes, he's trying to reach America to seek if he can find a home. So some of them, he sent a video of his journey through Guatemala as well. And, if they can get out, they will get out and they will leave. Some of them have the situation at the Civic Center is so desperate. I don't want people to think, let me say this much. I don't want people to think that these Cuban people here, regardless of what we think of them and their living conditions back home where they're from, right? They're not having a party at the Civic Center. They're not enjoying themselves. This, I don't think, is the better life that they envisioned for themselves. So don't sit there thinking that they're enjoying and living off of NAU and having a fantastic time. $150 for groceries per month in Cayman can hardly buy you a week of groceries if you're even being conservative. And that's what they're given as a monthly allowance. There are churches and other people who step forward and assist them. So when we compare them to the plight of, they're Caymanians who are going hungry and whatever, let me be very clear. Caymanians have the ability to apply to NAU. And there are lots of Caymanians who apply to NAU and get housing, full housing, decent housing with running water and electricity. They just have to go through the process. If they qualify, which means, basically unemployed, NAU pretty much will approve them. What NAU is trying not to do is allow, especially Caymanians, to become so reliant on the system that they never want to work. But I know Caymanians, to Johan's point, I don't know how many he know that as on NAU, but I know some that have lived their entire lives on NAU. And they refuse to work. Not that they're not capable. They're always knocking down NAU's door. And a lot of those same Caymanians have the audacity to get up talking about, they can have plastic surgery and get their hair done and nails done and all kind of stuff. And government must take care of them and their Caymanian children because they came here from Jamaica and married a Caymanian. So now it's government's responsibility. So, I don't know that we're always comparing apples to apples and oranges to oranges when we talk about the plight of Caymanians living in poverty and what these Cubans are forced to do, quite frankly, by no choice of their own. They're not permitted to work by law. They cannot work. And so the government has a responsibility to house them. And this is the best that we can do. Listen. If we could send them back immediately, we would. But given that that is not a viable option, do you guys really think for government accommodations for a civic center that this is acceptable? 2 shower facilities for, I forget how many people were there at the time. It must have been probably at least 50 people. Imagine if you're one of the few women having to live in this situation. I have to disagree with you, Han. I'm in agreement that yes, we send people back as quickly as we can. If the government is doing their best to do that, and like I said, now it's been expedited. In the meantime, nobody should have to live like this. And like I said, we're going to sit back and not do anything about it. Had a fire this weekend. When a fire breaks out that kills these poor people in the international human rights world and community looks at Cayman and says, wow, this is what you guys had going on? See, you all could feign ignorance because you didn't know. Now you know. This was recorded 7 months ago. The entire country knew what was going on. So YouTuber says, I agree with you, Johan. The same behavior happens where they come from. We need to stop housing them. So you do what? You allow them to roam the streets? You stop housing them and do what with them? So when they come ashore, You can't send them back immediately. You have to go through the process. Government stops housing them. They can't work. Where do you expect them to go? I'm just saying. Gabby says send them back, the Jamaican, Honduran, Filipinos, and everyone else at this point. Not only the Cubans. What the hell? But if people are coming here legally, how are you going to send people back, Gabby? You're losing me now. I'm a bit lost. Deanna says the sad part is they weren't trying to be here. I remember in the past, Cayman used to provide them with food and water and send them on their way. They don't even have a little washing machines. I think he said that was discarded somewhere. They tried to get that fixed up. Gabby says because enough people staying here illegally. Well, if you're illegal, then obviously the government has a right to send you back, but that's not what we're talking about here. Damien says this is a U.S. political and economic issue, and we're paying for it. Yet they can waste billions of dollars and can't trace where it went. Gwendoline, good morning, says, morning, what we need to do is give them a permit so they can make a living. Well, again, by law, that's not permissible. And then Caymanians and everybody else would be complaining. How can you give them a permit? Most of them don't speak English, to be fair. So they wouldn't even qualify for a permit just from that perspective alone. But also Caymanians would say, hold on a second, now they're going to be competing for jobs? So, you can't have it both ways. I mean, you got to decide what it is you're going to do with these people. This is how they hang out their clothes because they don't even have any proper clotheslines or anything. My point is, listen, if the government is going to house them, there should be some minimum standards for what government is allowed to do as a government facility and what they have allowed these people to do, which is create an immense fire hazard. So, this is a problem. Joseph says, send them all back home. They have worse than that where they come from. Well, I can tell you, Nadir said he never lived in that sort of condition with 50 other people. Maybe they didn't have much of anything where they came from, but I think the difference is they're not living in 1,000 square feet with like 50 people. So, it's probably it's poverty, but it's different. And not everyone, you can't assume that everyone was in the exact same situation. I mean, his situation seemed a little bit differently because when we spoke to him, he was actually saying that he did kind of social media journalism and he was being targeted for, his speaking out against the Cuban government. And he said he never lived in conditions like that ever. And so I guess that's why he was willing to take the chance to even go to the US. And his English was actually pretty good, I must say, when he spoke to us. So it's unfortunate. I mean, we would not want our citizens to go to any other country and be treated like this under any circumstances. And yet, we're okay with this. So it's really quite sad. Very, very sad. Damien says, imagine if they were giving them $2,000 a month and $1,000 in food a month. Well, Caymanians folks are getting, they get their vouchers. I mean, I don't know how much they give them for food, but they get apartments taken care of. And again, these are Caymanians, a lot of them who presented themselves as unmotivated. They don't want to work. They're having children. The government doesn't expect anything of them. The government doesn't say stop having children. And yet the government is going to feed all of those mouths. And we're creating a multi-generational issue of poverty. So if they get sick, they go to the hospital and they get treated. And of course, that's on the government. Where else are they going to get insurance from? Who's going to pay for it? So YouTuber, I said $150 for food. I didn't say anything else about any other things, but they get $150 for food. That's what they get for a food voucher. Obviously, if they're sick and they have to go to the hospital, you're not going to let them sit there and die. Now, the government has come up with a figure of between this facility and the one down by Fairbanks, what it's costing to feed them and house them and whatever. And it is into the millions of dollars. And I understand that that's tangible. That is money, right? And so we need to figure out a plan of how to expedite people quickly. Now, by law, they have a right to apply for asylum. And once they, initiate that process, their applications, which seem to take a very long time, and this is again where the government can step up. Why is it taking so long for the asylum process? Well, they need information, they need documentation, they need all this stuff to verify who they are and to vet their applications. One of the things that I've always said is that we need to have better communication with Cuba. But of course, the Cuban government doesn't care. That's less mouths for them to feed. And they're like, yeah, make them go. They're not worried, right? But if we had better communication with the people of Cuba to say, listen, the Cayman Islands is not where you want to come. I've had people in Cuba reach out, doctors and stuff, who are telling me that they understand that if they come to Cayman, they can get a job. And I'm like, who would have told you that? So there is misinformation that is being put out there in the Cuban community that makes them think that they can come to Cayman and have a better life. We need to send the message loud and clear. This really isn't, we don't have the resources here. This is not a country that, you're going to live a luxurious life if you're coming here as a migrant. Instead, this is the swaller that you're going to be living in. Finding doors on the roadside to then put up a makeshift area around curtains. Every single one of these doors they have found, somebody have discarded or given them a door, and they find a little padlock, jimmy rig it, and lock their stuff when they go out and about. And it's not like these people are lazy, because I can tell you, the very same Caymanians who want to talk foolishness are hiring these guys as laborers during the day and putting them to work so that they can have some pocket money and some change. So a lot of them get picked up. I've heard about the trucks, Caymanian-owned businesses. They're picking these guys up and taking them to work because they can pay them less than $6 an hour. No benefits, no nothing. And, they get work done. Really, really horrible. Shaka says, Uncle Johan, with all due respect, your position on this shows your lack of understanding of international responsibilities that Cayman has to abide by. And that's my thing. It's not like we get to dictate entirely what is happening here. But the parts that we can control, in my opinion, we need to do a better job. We have international obligations. Okay? And this does not meet the mark of what is humane in any way, shape, or form. Justice will be served says, what I want to know with these callers is, what if an Ivan should happen to Cayman again and every single Jamaican and expat would have to leave before the hurricane? Damien says, then they start coming here more because they can get work quicker than a Caymanian, regarding the work permit suggestion. Sandra says government should give them a cleaning job for the Christmas to do. At least they can make a few extra money and help themselves. Maybe not with the same salary as a Caymanian, but at least something. So Sandra, they're not allowed to work. So the government can't break its own laws. They're not allowed to be employed. So this is why I think that it's important for us to understand the restrictions that are in place. And I think there are circumstances, to Morna's point, where we're not permitted to help them again because of our international obligations. But if they feel like they can continue their journey, we don't have to interfere with them. But what ends up happening is they come into Cayman waters, or they're in international waters, and they're having issues, and so they have to be rescued, or they come straight into Cayman Brac or whatever. And, unfortunately, we, have to take them in because their vessels are not, they're not seaworthy. Go back and watch the video. This isn't about me, saying that, oh, we need to give them some sort of special rights or this or that. No, this is about government has this obligation, has this responsibility, and they should exercise it in a particular way. That's all that I'm saying. This is just, it's just unbelievable. The Civic Center, in my opinion, should have never had that many people housed in it. It goes against every fire code, every safety code in this country. And I'm sorry, to Johan's point, I don't know of any place where you have 50 plus Caymanians living in 1,000 square feet like this. I mean, he can show me a place, but I don't know of any. Most Caymanians still have their own individual dwelling homes and houses and stuff. So I don't know of anybody, any Caymanians living in this situation. Even if they are living in, maybe it's a family of 5 or 6 living in a little house, that is still not 50 plus people living in a civic center like this. So I've never seen anything like this in my life. And somebody living in one of the little closets right there, as we saw him open up that door, that became, they have one little stove area to try and cook. No repairs or anything is done. So as you can see, they all have their little makeshift kitchens and countertop cooking areas. So they try to utilize that. See the extension cords running outside. I mean, I can't believe this CUC hasn't even said anything about this, because certainly this can't be passing any of their codes for providing electricity in these circumstances. Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Morning.
As it relates to the Civic Center, I've had many meetings inside that building, and what you're representing now was not what that building used to be. I think what has happened over the time is that the improper use of it, because it must be said that it's improper. It wasn't designed for having stove and fridge all over the place.
Of course.
Like that. So the improper use of it, and then along with the way that humans were using it as a home has caused it to run down. And maybe what you should be leading your listeners to is that at some point in time the building was not using in its for its proper use, and maybe like I think Rohan had suggested that a quick turnaround would have mitigated these circumstances, but the building wasn't designed for that. That's one. And I can attest to the fact that the building used to be properly kept prior to the long-term use for housing migrants.
But no, I mean, for sure. But you do understand that the government says that they are turning them around as quickly as possible. But there is a process.
I appreciate that. And it's like you suggested, it's a legal process. You just can't take them up and put them on the next plane and send them out. They have to go through a process. But in the interim, what maybe needs to be done is either the facility be converted to accommodate that kind of use, or find a different place to house them.
Yeah. And to be fair to the government as well, I know the government used to put them in private housing. Somebody just said this. And unfortunately, landlords were refusing to rent to them because of the conditions that they were, And
to my point.
But again, when you have that many people, I think part of it is, they don't seem to understand that you can't destroy people's property the way in which they have. But also when you put this many people together, you're really asking for a disastrous situation as well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
it's sad.
I think
it's sad
the
all
solution
around.
is to find a proper facility that can be
House
used
them,
for this kind of purpose.
Yeah.
And
remember, the government said after we did this whole expose, not long after that, Cabinet approved some funding for the government to expand and improve upon the one at Fairbanks, which would be able to house more people. Remember that the people were all up in arms about it because they're like, oh, why is government spending millions of dollars to build a purpose-built facility, not just for Cubans, but for any migrants we have here? Because listen, even with the situation that's happening right now in Haiti, you do understand that it's entirely possible, although we're not physically as close to Haiti, it's entirely possible that we could start getting some Haitian migrants and refugees coming to Cayman as well.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of those people are running from gang violence and, all sorts of stuff. And the other thing that you have to understand in there is that part of the mixture is a lot of those people might even be gangsters themselves.
That is correct. But I think, I don't know, the turnaround time, I don't know if that can be shortened in any way. I know that there's a process that has to be followed.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe there needs to be a purpose-built facility.
Yeah. Well, they've said that they're going to do that. So they're going to improve upon, what they have there at Fairbanks. All right. Well, thank you so much, caller.
Yeah. Okay.
Appreciate it. All right. We do have another quite lengthy comment here that I do want to read. So give me 1 second to pull this one up. The person says the following in relation to our legal obligations. They say, what's taking so long? It's the process of their application for their claim for asylum. 99.9% of the people coming to the island, it's all based on economic situations and nothing to do with the UNHCR convention for people that is seeking political protection due to race, religion, or politics. The process is delayed. If they can work on the process, the handover can be within 3 months as opposed to 2 years. Do you know that government actually rented homes for years for these people to introduce into the public without a valid identification, etc.? They're driving without a license, and we reported that before, working illegally and committing other offenses such as burglary. Cayman needs a proper detention center, which is safeguarding these people until they are returned. And that's my point. Listen, I've taken flack on previous occasions for posting up that, look, here they are walking on the streets, selling stuff and begging and whatever. And you guys attack me ferociously on social media, like, oh, you're inhumane. And I'm like, no. Let's not confuse it. Let's not confuse it. I can be all about the process. Let's follow the law. Let's do this. Let's do that. But I also expect them to conduct themselves in a particular way when they come here. And you cannot be on the streets harassing women or burglarizing, or the one that we reported on that was drinking and driving, no license, driving on the wrong side of the road, and almost killed 2 Caymanian young ladies. So understand me very, very clearly. I don't support illegality and badness in any way, shape, or form. I don't care who it is. But at the same time, the government needs to have a proper housing facility for all migrants. What if we get a boatload of Haitians tomorrow? What are y'all going to do then? Mix them in with the Cubans at the Civic Center? Cayman, this person says, Cayman needs a proper detention center, which is safeguarding these people until they return, plus a person seeking political protection. Don't quote that they are trying to come here, but trying to go to Honduras because their end goal is the U.S. Their identity is confirmed within 2 weeks of reaching here from Cuba, and Cuba gives the okay to return them within the same time frame, 2 to 4 weeks. That's if their identity can be confirmed. And we've heard from CBC before that sometimes that does not always happen in that way. This person goes on to say that video does not properly show the condition of the inside of the Civic Center recently. It was an utterly disgusting disgrace. So it's gotten worse since my video. There were roaches everywhere, electrical wires all over the floor and ceiling, dangerously connected to air conditioners and fans. It was an outright disaster. Wow. Oh my gosh. What a hot mess. All right. Well, they had a fire there on Saturday. Thankfully, no lives were lost. This person says Julie can take them to Cayman Brac and put them in the housing that she just built for the workers for her beloved high school. They can get extra labor to speed up the school building. Good morning, caller.
Hey, Auntie Sandy, it's me again. Last call. There's no one solution to any of it, and there's been some good points that have been made. And I completely understand where you're coming from, but just hear me out for 10 seconds. One thing I know our government can do is when they are motivated, they can get together and they can change the rules and the laws overnight. Just think back to COVID. Every week, every 2 weeks, rules were changed, laws were passed, and they had consensus and they were unified on the best way forward. I'm not saying that the people that arrive here on these shores in horrible conditions are subhuman or less than human. I'm just saying the Cayman Islands government does not have the facilities. The Cayman Islands government doesn't have the budget. The Cayman Islands does not have the means in which to look after an entire group of thousands of people that effectively have entered the country illegally. Now, I'm not saying that you send them on their way overnight or in 24 hours, but you can't tell me it takes 3 years for individuals to be processed, to then be moved on. We've seen during COVID that rules were changed. These things can be done within a 2-month, 3-month period if there is a sense of urgency, because the reality is the longer you make people come here, the longer you house them, the longer you put them up, you're going to have, as you say, a collection of individuals that come from some places that are far, far, far
And to the government's
from
credit, Johan, they have, just last year, they have changed legislation that they can change in relation to the Cuban nationals. I'm sure you remember that.
Yes. Okay, and so the other point that I was going to make, we don't have the ability to house. We shouldn't have to spend $5 million, $10 million on a detention center for foreign nationals. If we don't have the means to do so, and we are obliged to follow obligations as a result of being a British dependent territory, we should seek assistance from the British government and say, we, the Cayman Islands, do not have the means, the facilities, or the resources in order to deal with this now humanitarian crisis. We are seeking your assistance. Can you please house them or deal with them, because you're far better at this game than we are. And that is the reality of it, because every dollar that is spent building things, I heard a story that they were building, that there are plans afoot to build something like a $80 million to $100 million prison. With the greatest of respect, we have lost our minds, and we have obviously too much money. If we could go and spend them type of money on a prison, and we could then spend another $10 million, $20 million on a detention center when we have our own people living in squalor. I'm not arguing with you. I agree with a lot of the points that you're making. I'm just saying Cayman not built for these situations. Cayman not built for everybody. And the other point that I was going to make, you imagine you come here, you get a work permit, you get government benefits, you get PR, and you're an NAU. If you have to come to the Cayman Islands and get government benefits and NAU, the system not working. We need to effectively say, this not working out for you, and you're now becoming a ward of the state, and basically remove those benefits from those people and invite them to go somewhere else, because there's about 25,000 Caymanians. All right. Now, I think you
said 10 seconds, and you'd spend minutes.
My attitude would probably be different if I knew that we were really looking after our people. But you can go in any neighborhood, any district,
right,
anywhere, and we have our own that are living in subhuman conditions.
You do understand, Johan, that looking after our people has more to do with your government overspending on an opulent school than it does to do with the Cuban migrants?
Listen to me. We waste money. Successive governments have wasted hundreds of millions.
And we've given away millions of dollars in developmental concessions. Like, those are the things that would help the plight of your people. the little bit
I'm
of
with you.
the money that is spent on the Cubans, I don't think that it's fair to say that that's why Caymanians are living in poverty. That's all I'm saying too.
But Auntie Sandy, if you don't address the issue, it becomes a flood, and then Caymanians will become even more
have to
overwhelmed.
address it. We have to address it.
That's all I'm saying. We're on the same team, and I take your point. I just wanted to bring a little bit of a reminder to it.
All
Listen,
right.
we hope that these people can get moved on as quickly as possible to a better situation that works for them, because Cayman can't be for everybody.
All righty. Thank you.
Right.
And I agree. But again, when you talk about changing legislation, okay, we did what we did with COVID. There are international legislation, international treaties and stuff that bind our hands with what we can do with this migrant situation. So it's not entirely up to us. We're not, unlike Jamaica, we are not an independent country. So y'all have to understand the implications of that and what that means. And to the government's credit, they have changed legislation. I believe it might have just been last year or the year before. So, for example, one of the things that they did is some Cubans were coming here claiming political asylum, and then, we would grant it to them, and then they would go back home. The government said, no, we're not going to continue. We're not going to allow you to do that. If you go back home, that means that you're okay. You don't need to worry about political asylum, and it will be taken from you. They also introduced, I'm trying to find the legislation that was amended. They also introduced, reviews, so that you no longer get political asylum for life. It is subject to a review process every couple of years. So these things, legislation has been amended, and it has been amended to curtail abuses in the system as it relates to the Cuban situation. So I'm not saying that the government isn't doing anything, right? They've recognized some of the issues. And let me see if I can find it. Hold on. And they have made some adjustments to the legislation. And they have also tried to curtail the time frame that it's taken to return people. Like I said, last week, they sent another 16 back. And still, my point is this: the conditions in a government facility, in a government-owned facility, because guess what? If another fire breaks out and there is life lost in that facility, that is on us. Y'all want to see how much money then we're going to be paying out to Cubans because, oh, sorry, your father and your loved one, life was lost in this facility, and now all of y'all going to be suing us, and we're going to be getting all kind of international attention, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. I would like to know what numbers we're down to in terms of, back in 2021, the Human Rights Committee said that part of the issue, the Human Rights Commission said that part of the issue is that the Cubans were caught between legislation that was not working in tandem with each other. It was incompatible laws. So they highlighted at the time when they were protesting back then that this is part of the issue. So again, our government has to take responsibility for that. If we have legislation that traps them here because one piece of legislation says one thing, another piece of legislation says something else, and they're just not meshing, whose fault is that? That's our government's fault. Those are things that needed to be fixed. I'll see if I can find the article again about the legislative change that had occurred. But, because of the COVID situation, we had an influx of Cuban nationals. Some 360 undocumented Cubans at one point arrived in Cayman since April. And this was back in 2022. This was December of 2022. So between April of 2022 and December, we had 360 active asylum applications in this country. We'll try to see if we can get some updated numbers. And this is where it was saying it was taken up to, umpteenth years to process these applications. All right. We'll have to circle back to that. I don't know, El Rey, if we know the cause of the fire as yet. The authorities have not said. All right, politically over the weekend, I'm going to play the, this person says it's troubling how little Johan understands. Well, I mean, he has a law degree, so I'm not sure. I mean, it's, All right, listen, let's talk politics. I do want to play this, and I wanted to play it for a radio audience in case they may have missed it. This editorial from over the weekend, it's called Character Matters. So let's go ahead and have a listen to this. I think that it's important that the people of the Cayman Islands starts to pay attention to what's happening on the political front. We're months away now from a general election.
Raise your voice if it's not fair. Every time, everywhere. Be a hero.
Oh, my apologies. I see that that's not the correct one. Hold on one second here. Here we go. All right, here we go. I'm going to skip through the introduction if I can as well. Hold on a second here. Character matters. Why we must screen political candidates. As the Cayman Islands approaches the 2025 election, we need to have an honest conversation about the type of individuals we elevate to public office. The question of who we want in elected office is more pressing than ever. It's not just about qualities we desire in candidates, but also about what we must avoid. A problematic personality in public office is not just a minor flaw, it is a ticking time bomb. When such individuals gain power, their negative traits are often magnified with dire consequences for governance and society at large. While many focus on policies and promises, we must pay equal attention to character and past behavior. History has shown that political power doesn't create character flaws, it reveals and amplifies them. The Progressives recently launched their campaign and shared that they want to invigorate their party with younger Caymanians who share their vision for the country.
So we are working, as you said, assiduously to put together a team. Obviously, as a party, you go through a process. We talked about that the last time and how the party structure is where persons are nominated as candidates, and then you go into your district council meetings and they're elected to represent. So we've been working through. We are doing very well. We're at about 13 candidates right now, and we're striking that perfect balance of youth and experience. Josh Parsons here came along with me this evening. I've known this young man for a very, very long time. You can't tell by looking at me, but I used to coach him football one time.
Okay.
I think he was only about 2 years younger than me. But I've known Josh for a very long time. I'm just very impressed with this young man. I got a phone call and said, I should give him a call. I did so. I said, is this Josh today? Coach football? I said, yes. And I said, oh, great, let's have lunch. And we went for lunch, and I sat chatting with him, and I felt like I was speaking to myself back in 2012 when I went to speak to Kurt Tibbetts and Mosca Colonel and those about running in the 2013 elections. And I sat across from this young man, and I'm like, holy cow, I literally feel like I'm speaking to myself, 12 years ago.
Thus far, their selection has left us asking the simple question: how are they vetting these candidates? if at all. One recent candidate put forward has a seriously checkered past of assaulting numerous women that he has had intimate relationships with. This is not a one-off incident on a drunken night that got out of control. There are multiple victims out there who were physically assaulted by him. Some expressed to family and friends that they had to leave the relationship in order to save their lives. The behavior was so bad that this candidate was forced out of previous employment because a girlfriend was assaulted at the workplace. After being given a second chance, another explosive outburst happened between the parties, leading to him being requested to resign from the company. A history of domestic violence is a serious indictment against anyone. In fact, it's a criminal offense. The fact that in our community, many men and women are simply not held accountable for assaulting their partners and significant others is quite concerning. People have seen similar physical outbursts towards the person's children as well. The personality type that often engages in this level of violence is destructive and demonstrates a lack of self-control. Is this a type of personality you want to have in elected office? Women struggle with violence, harassment, and assault both in and outside the workplace. We've had very little forward movement in greater protections afforded in the law. For years, the sexual harassment legislation has sat after much discussion and nothing tabled even now before Parliament. This is unacceptable, but how can we expect any better? We have known abusers in Parliament who have stories of broken arms, collarbones, and general assault following them. One, namely Mr. McKeever Bush, now has a criminal record for assaulting a woman. Yet he remains in a leadership position in this country. A leadership position in Parliament who dares to speak of accountability for others and not himself. While we agitate for change, we will never get change if we continue to select people with similar backgrounds and personality traits as the least undesirables that we have in there now. Power amplifies flaws. History and psychology alike teach us that power tends to magnify a person's existing traits. Integrity, compassion, and resilience become more pronounced in good leaders under pressure. But so do arrogance, impulsiveness, and a disregard for others and flawed individuals. When someone with a history of abusive behavior, whether in personal relationships, the workplace, or broader community interactions, is given the authority to make decisions for a nation, the results can be disastrous. Take, for example, cases of domestic violence. A candidate with a known history of assaulting intimate partners or displaying violent tendencies has already demonstrated a lack of self-control and respect for others. These traits do not disappear once they're sworn into office. Instead, the power they wield often emboldens them further. The impact of such behavior is not confined to their personal lives. It compromises their ability to lead ethically, make sound decisions, and prioritize the welfare of their constituents. The warning signs we cannot ignore. When evaluating candidates, voters must look for early warning signs of problematic behavior. These red flags often predict how someone will conduct themselves in office, such as a history of violence or abuse, particularly domestic violence, pattern of inability to handle criticism or disagreement, documented workplace conflicts and inappropriate conduct, financial irresponsibility or questionable business dealings, history of blaming others for personal and professional failures, inability to maintain professional relationships, and documented instances of bullying or intimidation. These behaviors don't occur in isolation. Someone who's demonstrated a pattern of violence in their personal relationships won't suddenly develop self-control when under political power. Instead, the authority of public office creates more opportunities for misconduct, not fewer. But you say, people will change. People can change. While it's true that people can change, public office is not a rehabilitation program. It's a position of trust that demands the highest standards of conduct. when candidates have a history of violence, abuse, or serious misconduct, they must demonstrate meaningful change through actions, not just words. This change should be evident over a significant period of time, and they should have a record of making amends and taking responsibility. They should also show understanding of why their past behavior was wrong. Accountability begins with selection. The responsibility to prevent individuals with problematic personalities from holding public office begins with the electorate and political parties. Proper vetting processes must become the norm, not the exception. In the past, we've seen candidates with troubling histories presented to the public without any meaningful scrutiny. Such behavior is not just disqualifying, it's dangerous. Yet despite these clear red flags, individuals with similar backgrounds continue to occupy leadership roles. This perpetuates a cycle where accountability is demanded of others, but not of those in power. Consider the case of Makiva Bush, whose criminal record of assault stands as a stark reminder of the failures in our political system to prioritize character in leadership. Youth is not enough. Another misconception that needs addressing is the idea that youth equates to better leadership. While invigorating the political landscape with younger candidates is commendable, age alone is not a qualification for public office. Leadership demands humility, training, and the ability to navigate complex issues, qualities that require experience and self-awareness. Candidates must demonstrate a commitment to learning and growth before assuming positions of authority. Electing someone simply because they're young, without assessing their preparedness or character, risks perpetuating the same issues we aim to resolve. Effective leadership requires a combination of traits: integrity, resilience, empathy, decisiveness, and the ability to collaborate and communicate effectively. These qualities must take precedence over superficial attributes. Some argue that younger candidates will automatically bring positive change. However, youth alone is not a qualification for public office. The recent controversy surrounding a progressive candidate with a history of domestic violence highlights why we must look beyond age to character. Being young doesn't exempt someone from the basic requirements of emotional maturity, self-control, respect for others, professional conduct, and personal responsibility. What do we want in a leader? As voters, we must demand more from our representatives. The question is not just about what we want, but also what we must reject. Leaders should inspire trust, demonstrate accountability, and act with the welfare of their constituents at heart. They should have the courage to make difficult decisions, the humility to admit mistakes, and the resilience to persevere in the face of challenges. Conversely, we must reject candidates who exhibit traits that undermine these values: dishonesty, a history of violence or abuse, lack of self-awareness, and an inability to work collaboratively. These are not minor shortcomings, they're disqualifying factors that should weigh heavily in our decision-making process. A call to action. The upcoming election is an opportunity to set a new standard for leadership in the Cayman Islands. It begins with each of us. Get informed about the candidates, scrutinize their records, hold parties accountable for their selections. It is not enough to settle for the least undesirable option. We must demand leaders who embody the values and qualities needed to move our country forward. Make sure that you register to vote. The election is April the 30th of 2025. Make your voice heard. Together we can ensure that character, true character, matters in our elected officials. When we put individuals with problematic personalities into positions of authority, we often see abuse of power to settle personal scores, bullying of staff and colleagues, misuse of public resources, retaliation against critics, creation of toxic work environments, erosion of institutional norms and standards. We've already witnessed this in our own parliament. Instead of settling for candidates with questionable histories, voters should seek individuals who demonstrate consistent ethical behavior in professional and personal lives, track record of community service, ability to handle disagreement respectfully, financial responsibility, a history of positive leadership in other roles, commitment to transparency and accountability, and evidence of learning and growth from mistakes. As we approach the 2025 election, we must demand thorough vetting of all candidates, look beyond surface-level qualifications, pay attention to patterns of behavior, not just isolated incidents, hold parties accountable for their candidate selection, and reject the normalization of abuse or violent behavior. Character matters. When we ignore red flags in a candidate's background, we become complicit in any future misconduct they commit in office. The Cayman Islands deserves leaders whose past behavior demonstrates that they're worthy of public trust. As voters, we have the power and the responsibility to prevent individuals with problematic personalities from gaining political authority. The ballot box is our first and most important line of defense against abuse of power. But more importantly, voting for candidates who've demonstrated through their actions, not just their words, that they possess the character worthy of public office. Remember, the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. Choose wisely.
Raise your voice if it's not fair. Every time, everywhere. Be a hero, show the world you care. Show the world we care.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels. And visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.